welcome back to my channel. Ang gagawin po natin ngayon ay mag-react sa mga scary animation kasi guys, gabi na po. Pero gising pa po sila kasi gusto ko po mag-video sa gabi kasi para more scary. Guys, ito po ang mga scary animation. Kung mali po ang spelling ko, sorry po guys. So ito po 12 horror stories animation completed by of John. Okay guys, let's meet up. Guys, madilim kasi. So guys, guys, madilim lang. So guys, hindi po alam kasi. Wait lang guys, pag sasabihin ko na kung meron na. Guys, ito na po.
I was 20 at the time when this happened. I still remember this as a vivid memory in my brain that would never get erased. One day, I was at a club with a few friends.
Oh, club.
I saw a cute girl, which was totally my type at first glance. She had blonde hair and deep brown eyes. Her nose was tiny and cute. Her lips were red like a rose. I approached her and I asked if she wanted a drink or something. She said yeah, and we drank a lot. She told me to come by her place. I hesitated at first, but soon I agreed. I told my friends that I was leaving early, and we booked a cab. We got in the cab, and 15 minutes later, we arrived at her house. Her apartment had a 2-floor. Nothing special, but just normal. We stepped inside, and all of a sudden, I smelled something rotten. I got a bit nauseous and asked her if I could use the bathroom. She smiled and said yes. I rushed in, and as I did, the smell got stronger. That's where the smell was coming from. At first, I didn't pay attention and puked into the sink. I thought that I had drunk a bit too much, but it was not. Just then, I heard a splash of water right beside the bathtub. I turned and opened a shower curtain, and then what I saw made my heart drop. A dead body of a boy around my age, mutilated, was lying in the bathtub obliquely. As I got closer, I realized that his right leg was cut off too. I was freaked out. I wanted to scream, but it didn't come out. But I decided not to go outside because she might be a psychopath killer and could kill me too. I tried to find an escape. Then I spotted something that I wasn't expecting. A small pocket knife stuck out from his jean pocket. I cautiously took the knife and flicked the door open. There was no one outside, and only that girl was sitting on the steps. I asked her what was in the bathtub, and suddenly, her expression got different. She flashed a maniac grin, and then she took out something from her back. A knife. All of a sudden, she lunged toward me, but I dodged it. I took out my knife and swung around as soon as she came to me, and kicked her. She let out a scream as she fell to the ground. I heard some noise upstairs, but I wasn't going to check that out. I sprinted out the door and ran 2 blocks straight without stopping, and then called the cops. The cops searched the whole house and arrested 3 people, all charged for murdering innocent young boys. Then I took a cab back to my house. I called and told my parents about this incident. I wasn't able to sleep that night at all. This was the scariest I've ever experienced. And who knew what would have happened if I didn't find that knife?
My stepdad was totally crazy.
My mom used to work as a taxi driver, and she started to go out with one of her coworkers. Let's call him Larry, for the sake of the story. He seemed like a nice guy at first.
Yeah.
Finally, they got married and had a daughter, and we will call her Ruby. But once they got married, things started to change immediately. He was not a nice guy after all. If something didn't go his way, he always ran to his mom's house. Because in her mind, he was still her baby, even though he was a 50-year-old man.
What?
He was such a mama's boy. Mom and Larry would break up and make up a lot, so that was just normal behavior. But when he got drunk, sometimes we didn't let him inside the house as he can become a violent person. He'd break in by smashing a window to get in on occasion. Well, he would not hurt us, but broke things like a TV or a family member's computer, which made us terrified. The final straw was when he came into our house one day. He kidnapped Ruby and ran away for 2 days until the police arrested him and brought Ruby back home, even though Larry was her dad. Mom was literally traumatized by this incident. We decided to move out of our house, and it was a great idea to move away from him at a safe distance. We had none of his belongings, so he had no reason to come crawling back to us. So we moved out, and as time went by, we settled into the new house. We all started school, and I always woke up extra early to shower and play video games before I went to school. But this one day, when I woke up at 4 a.m. and finished taking a shower, I came out of the bathroom and looked out of the window unintentionally. It was still dark, and there was a man who was walking up and down the path by the side of our house. Suddenly, he looked up and stared at me. He realized that I saw him. I stood there and did nothing. Then he walked away and stood under the streetlight.
Oh my god.
It was Larry. He had the most malevolent smile I've ever seen. He came over to the mailbox saying that he was sorry. He said that he wanted to talk to my mom so they could start over again. I ran to Mom and woke her up, but we decided to call the police instead of letting him inside. About 10 minutes later, the police came to arrest him. They found out that he drove a car while drunk and left it halfway up the road. And when they searched him, he had a surgical scalpel in his pocket. He told the police that it was just a joke, but no one believed him.
The horror ghost story. Guys, I think is really like this is so scary. But I do not know if I can still play or just not. Because guys, the middle of the night, what happened? All the 3 a.m. things. So I'm sorry guys that I'm super. Okay guys, now I'll play this again.
When I was a kid, I was really into paranormal things such as ghosts and spirits, so I always got really excited for Halloween.
Girl.
On one Halloween, my parents took me and my brother to a ghost tour in the city. During the tour, we would visit real haunted houses, which were said to have some really violent ghosts. I couldn't be more excited. We arrived at the location for the tour meetup, an empty parking lot, but we were a bit early and nobody else had arrived yet. It was a chilly October night, so my parents decided that we should find a building to wait in until more people arrive. We walked over to the building that the parking lot was meant for, an old hotel, and entered the vestibule. We tried to fully enter the building, but we found that the doors leading to the lobby inside were locked. After a few minutes of standing around, I started to feel strange. A nauseous feeling had swept my stomach. Goosebumps ran up and down my arms, and a piercing feeling of being watched was stabbing, almost burning my back. Looking around, it was obvious that me and my family were the only ones inside the vestibule. The lobby of the building was also devoid of people. Once we saw people enter the parking lot, we left, and I felt better. And after that, I was shocked to see the first place we stopped on the tour was the building my family had been waiting in.
Oh my god.
Now, this building we won't enter, because the spirit inside here is more violent than the others will encounter.
Guys, just a minute. I'll
The
go
guide
get
stated.
food.
In here,
He doesn't terrorize the whole building, just the area that you enter through. He's been known to slap and scratch people coming inside. A few pictures were passed around. All of a sudden, I don't know how and why, but I recognized that an inky black figure stood against the door's windows. Its eyes were glowing white, and it had long fingers and pointed nails. It was freaky to think that I might have been targeted by the Shadow Man, but I didn't think much of it until after the tour when my family went back home. I started to complain to my mom that my back was itching and burning, so she grabbed some ointment and told me she would look at it. We thought it was just a bug bite. We had been walking around outside at night after all. When she lifted my shirt, she asked when I had scratched my back. I told her I hadn't. She took a picture on her phone and showed it to me. I was met with a long red scratch leading from my shoulder to the middle of my back. The skin on my back was a shade of red, like a rash. Me and all of my family couldn't say anything, but just turned back straight to our house. The Shadow Man had got me.
Guys, I think this is the end of the video. Hope you like this video and hit the subscribe button. Bye!